Randy, we've got a problem.
What?
They go.
Reality's here.
But of course,
He's trying to
that
crash the
takes a
party.
lot of effort,
Reality?
a lot of resources.
Who let him in?
You're sad that people are mean? Well, I'm sorry. The world isn't one big liberal arts college campus.
I don't have an agenda. Like, I want people to do something. I need them to do something. I want them to avoid irrationality.
I guess what interests me is just like what interests everybody else. It's just sort of what feels real.
That was totally wicked!
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Cheers to you with the Real News coffee mug. That's right, Real News there. Little Real News boy in the back end. My name is Mr. Henry. Welcome back to another edition of Real News as I'm screaming in the house here. My wife loves it every single morning. Who am I kidding, man? She does. She married into it. She's listening right now live every single morning. She gives me a little commentary afterwards. We have conversations. David Shine Thompson over there on the other end. We're back from another weekend doing the thing on a Monday morning. Jam-packed show today. Shine, this is one of those shows where either so much that happened over the weekend you don't know where to go with it. It's just going to be one of those organic development shows. You're going to let it develop as it will. Whatever the comment section is going to be doing. Comments drive this program, drive this show. Community drives everything we do here in Real News. Whatever y'all are talking about, I got the unified chat up here, be it through Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, wherever you're watching, doesn't matter. realnewsradio.live, realnewsradio.live. If you comment, I will see it. That's how it goes. The Wizard of Oz thing behind the screen. His name is David Shine Thompson, making all the stuff happen. How you doing, buddy? How was your weekend? Pretty good?
There. Sorry, I had to get myself unmuted and get the shot on me and everything. Sorry about that. It was a great weekend. Had a great time. Had a nice dinner party last night with some friends. It was a really good time. Got to talk. It's really interesting with people that I have talked politics with in the past, but I haven't had a chance to talk politics with them since the COVID. This was like a group of friends like I haven't really like hung out with since the dark cloud descended upon us.
Yeah.
Since times changed, haven't talked to them since the before time. Right. And it was very interesting to get kind of like their feedback on their opinions on things and how that's different than, in fact, Grant, do you remember you went with me to the election party in 2016?
Yeah.
We went over to those people's house. That's whose house I went over to for dinner last night.
That's awesome. Okay.
And it was a very interesting, it was a fun night. It was super fun.
By the way, to get some context, this was a group of folks, super awesome people, fantastically awesome people. But
they opened their homes to us. They did. They gave us their food, their drink, and their gratitude.
But they're not exactly Trump supporters. This isn't
like not at all. Like not at all.
But the only time I met these people was when Shine walked in there with, what was it, like a 4-foot Trump flag, basically being worn as a cape.
I looked like Ric Flair, Elvis.
This is on election night. Night.
Yeah, man, it was a really interesting time to hear, like, because a lot of them are liberal-esque. Like regular liberal, like moderate Democrat type liberal. And it was just really interesting hearing how their opinions have changed about stuff. And a libertarian, by the way, and another libertarian. But I think all of them are at least thinking about voting for Trump, and they don't even like him.
Interesting.
They just don't like the woke left more. It was a really interesting night. I don't know. I can get into all of it later. But I had a really good time. You had a very successful Saturday, from what I heard. You and other people with Americans for Prosperity doing the getting the word out about the forgoodgovernment.com petition to stop the 34% Nashville property tax. I heard you had a good time.
We were out at a couple of early voting locations again this weekend. State director came out and helped us out this weekend too. State director with Americans for Prosperity. We also had another national effort going on with some other stuff at AFP as well. Just a lot of stuff going on over this weekend. You bring the people up to speed here too. If you aren't aware with the area, we have some people, some listeners of this program that are in Tennessee. Some of them aren't in Tennessee. In Middle Tennessee, Nashville, metro government in particular, they have spent themselves into oblivion. They basically spent themselves into the sense that they're about $150, $130 million budget deficit. It's hard to get a track on what that real number is. So to make up for that budget deficit, instead of, say, cutting some spending or something, their proposal was to increase property taxes by 34%. Now, the problem with that, if you don't have a problem with property taxes already in general, the problem with that is that it's not proportionate to say how much you make or anything. It's just 34% across the board. So most of the people we've been hearing from are lower socioeconomic individuals or people on fixed incomes that have come to us and said, hey, I came to find you guys at this early voting location. I'm not even here to vote. Like, I'm registered to vote, but I'm not even here to vote today. I just came to find you all to sign this petition because I'm on a fixed income. And I literally, as far as a budgetary matter is concerned, I actually legitimately cannot afford to have my property taxes go up. Unless I need to cut something else out of my budget, and being on this fixed income, I can't, it's fixed in place to do you know how those things go, right? So we've had wide bipartisan support of this petition here. This petition, forgoodgovernment.com, number 4goodgovernment.com. Every registered voter in Davidson County we're trying to get to sign this thing. We need a certain number of signatures. We're right there. We are pretty much there. This thing is going to be on the ballot December 5th. When it comes to be on the ballot December 5th, number 4goodgovernment.com, that's when we need to get the word out to everybody. This thing not just repeals the 34% property tax increase, cutting that down to 2%. It caps it every single year in metro government. You cannot raise property taxes beyond 2% without approval from the base, meaning a referendum. You have to get 51% of people in Nashville, in Davidson County, to agree to raise their own property taxes every year going forward. It does things to increase stewardship of our money, increase transparency, accountability. There's a provision in there that basically says, hey, government, Metro, if you spend $250,000 of Title VII money or money on a Title VII corporation, you have to show us where it's going. You have to be able to let us track and see where money went to which particular place, how it's been allocated. At this point, you can't even find some of this money, how it's where it's been spent. I mean, especially with the deal going on with MLS right now. Now, that's been bringing us up to speed where we are. Over the weekend, we have, I don't want to indicate too much with the number of signatures, but just take my word for it. It's going to be on the ballot on December 5th. That's when we need to get people out to vote. It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. What we're doing this next week going forward, we have about a threefold approach here. And yes, I do the European three. Just deal with it. My palms are too wide to get it's a weird thing with me, okay? I do the European three because literally my palms are too wide for the thumb to touch the finger. My wife makes fun of me for it every single day. My family thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. It is what it is. We have a threefold approach going forward.
You're special, Grant. You're special.
Special, dude. Wide palms, dude. We have a threefold approach going forward this week, all right? We're hitting voting locations on Thursday. Now, there are way too many voting locations to cover in general. So the way we're doing this is we're going to try and cover the early voting locations that we have in the past. If you have a voting location you would prefer to cover, reach out to me. We'll set you up. We also have some door knocking. We're starting in the Antioch area on Thursday as well. Yeah, they so happen to fall on top of each other. It's frustrating. And the third thing we're trying to do also on Thursday, if anybody out there that's listening to my voice right now is planning on going to the Joe Jorgensen event in Centennial Park here in the metro area in Nashville, let me know. If you're planning on going and you also support this initiative, which I hope every libertarian would, talk to me, reach out to me, come find me, please, because I can't be there physically. I would love to be there physically, but I'm literally going to be knocking doors for this effort at that exact time. It starts at 6. The Joe Jorgensen event starts at 6. If you don't know, Joe Jorgensen's the presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party moving forward. If you're going to go to that event, reach out to me. I will put 100 of these petitions in your hand and a clipboard. Get some libertarians to sign this stuff while you're there. It's a captive audience of what I would assume to be hopefully 100, 200 plus people, maybe even more. Who knows?
You can do it.
You can do it, man. Signatures on signatures on signatures. All right. That's the local efforts going on here. Let's move into some national stories, yeah? No, we got to spend some time on Monday mornings being able to laugh at ourselves. And I think that's probably the best way to do it here, Sean. Let's spend a little bit of time making fun of ourselves, laughing at ourselves, get our head on straight. Satire, I think, is the thing that cuts through all this nonsense. And then we can get into this what the headline is for today, the audacity to stand. Some NBA player had the audacity to stand during the national anthem this week, and an African-American NBA player was asked the question of, do you think Black Lives Matter? And I'm just like, for so many reasons, the question alone, asking an African-American male in this country, do you believe Black Lives Matter, is just, it's not just like unmitigated gall. It's the absurdity
It's patronizing.
Behind. Exactly. Yeah.
Do you believe your life matters?
Yes, right? Yes, right. I mean, it's just like...
You know, by asking the question, it makes me wonder if you think my life matters. Just, you know,
Right.
just thinking about it.
Before we do that, though, Shime, let's really hit people where we're at right now with some of this woke nonsense. Now, this first one we're going to touch on is, hey, man, it's woke and racist. This video is a little bit controversial, but frankly speaking, I don't really care, man. Because I've heard so many people on the left and the right make the same argument right now. It's high time we had a conversation about it. Sean, let's not even introduce it. Just go ahead and hit play. We'll let it go through. We'll deal with the fallout afterwards and see what people think. But
When me and Brad first met, I didn't think we'd get along, but turns out we kind of agree on everything. Your racial identity is the most important thing. Everything should be looked at through the lens of race.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke. We both have a lot of opinions about people of color, even though we barely know any.
I say colored people, but as long as we're classifying them, we both think minorities are a united group who think the same and act the same.
And vote the same. You don't want to lose your black card. Sorry, I don't know. I just think we should
Roll back discrimination laws so we can hire based on race again. Jinx, now you owe me a Coke. Hey, tell them what you told me yesterday.
White actors should only do voices for white cartoon
I've
characters.
been saying that for years. Stick to your own.
Us white people, we have so much privilege.
I agree. It is a privilege to be white. Ask him about interracial dating.
All I said is that black men who date white women have internalized racism, and white men that date ethnic women are fetishizing them.
Guys against interracial dating now. Like, am I being pranked? Did Boomer put you up to this?
Ugh, you know that taco place is white owned?
White people should be making white foods like Kraft macaroni and cheese, no seasoning, not even salt. It's like he's a mind reader. I mean, I've been pushing for segregation forever, and my man does what?
I created an improv comedy show exclusively for ethnic people.
Guy segregates comedy on my birthday.
White people need to stop wearing dreadlocks, and they need to stop appropriating black people's music.
Shaved heads and country music, the way God intended.
You know all white people are racist.
I'm listening.
Even if you have a black wife or a black friend group, you're still really racist.
You know, we just kicked a guy out of the organization for having a black girlfriend, but if you can promise me he's still really racist, we'll consider letting him back in. Black people should only shop at black businesses.
I guess the only thing we really disagree about is I think white people are the root of all evil.
But what did I tell you, though? If we can narrow that down to a certain group of tiny-hatted white people, I think we can come to an understanding.
Technically, I don't consider Jewish people white.
Neither do I. But we're still cool with interracial couple, right?
Yeah, as long as you pay for it. Sex work should be celebrated.
That one at the very end always gets me. Neither do I.
That was
It's funny,
amazing.
man.
That was
Right?
amazing because it's 100% true.
Yes, dude. I know.
It is like I can verify that. Like, I've heard woke people say all those things that the woke person said.
Right?
Like 100%. Like, that is not exaggerating at all. Like,
No, it's just-
not even a little bit.
Right. It's just pulling like literal quotes from either things you've heard people say or seen people tweet or heard commentary on before. I mean, no.
The wokerati is a bunch of racist pricks. Is what they are. Like
The wokerati.
The wokerati, man. They're segregationist, 100%. And the best example for that, for proof, is that California just got rid of the anti-segregation provision in their own constitution. It hasn't passed yet, but it has gotten out of the House, where they removed the thou shall not discriminate, not thou shall, but you shall not discriminate based on race, color, creed, blah, 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 blah. They took it out of their constitution and didn't replace it with anything. So, like, if this passes, it will be legal to do like the Jim Crow South. And I don't know if they would do this, but it would be legal to like have white only bathrooms and colored people bathrooms, or like they joked around, it would be legal in California to hire people based on race. So if you said, I only want black people to work for me, or I only want white people, or I only want people from Bangladesh or something like that, it would be legal, which, in the rest of the United States is not legal. You can't do that.
Right. There's so much going on with what's happening in some of these movements, that the end results just seem entirely antithetical to the stated purpose of their movement. So I look at something for what's been going on, and Eric was talking about this a little bit in Facebook right now. I'll get to that comment in a second, but look at what's been going on with banning certain people of color on, I don't know, everything from Aunt Jemima to Uncle Ben's rice to the Indian on Land O'Lakes butter to, I mean, there's thing after thing after thing after thing right now of people of color that the pitch has been that we're exploiting people of color to sell products. Well, there's been a new line of commentary coming out on TikTok and the like. TikTok's another theme of the show today, that millennials are now starting to pick up on this idea. Generation Z even is starting to pick up on this idea of like, hang on, dude, what did we just do? There's a TikTok in particular recently that's been sort of going viral on Facebook and Twitter and a few other places where this person's walking down the aisle of a grocery store and panning left and right and not seeing any people of color anywhere, but sees like, the Quaker Oats guy in a bunch of like white wig and seeing the Jolly Green Giant dude selling him green beans. So now all that person sees is white people selling him products everywhere. It's just white
Jolly
people that are
Green
represented.
Giant is a green person. Let's just.
Is it a green person?
That's not a white person. That's a green person. Okay.
I think I was thinking Mr. Clean. Mr. Clean. Then we'll use that.
Yes, Mr. Clean and the Brawny Man. All those.
The Brawny Man is who I was thinking of. Actually, that's who I was thinking of.
Man, he looks like such a wuss these days. The Brawny Man. When they got rid of his beard, dude. I mean, in a time where beards are the most popular they've ever been, they got rid of the beard on the Brawny Man, and he's not looking very brawny anymore.
Poor Brawny Man.
He looks a little browny to me.
But you understand, like, some people are now starting to recognize that maybe this ideology is a little bit more regressive than we thought, because now there's just no representation of anything other than Caucasian individuals through every single aisle selling me stuff. And okay, fine, sure, that's limited to just what you might buy in a store. But it's just an odd thing of how it seems to feel somehow that woke leftist ideology and just pure blatant racism fall on the same page a lot of the times. And again, this is not just being recognized by two white dudes on YouTube. This whole sort of thought line started by several other African Americans that I've been finding on TikTok and a few others as well, Twitter and other places. Now, just to put some of this stuff in context, lest you think that these people that I just pulled up, this guy on YouTube in particular, he just considers himself a satirist. He is not a Trump supporter. He's not a Democrat. He's not a Republican. He has explicitly said he does a podcast and everything else, and he's being frustrated now that after these videos have went viral, that everyone in his comment section is trying to encamp him in either to be a Trump supporter or a Trump hater, or it doesn't matter. He's just coming out saying, y'all don't get it. I'm just making fun of the whole of all of it, the entirety of it. In a George Carlin-esque manner, I'm just shining a light on your own inconsistencies, hypocrisy for the sake of hypocrisy. I'm just trying to spread some satire here, man, just to get you guys to wake up a little bit. With that being said,
woke people don't believe that actual comedy, like free speech, is actual free speech. They think that all speech is a means to gain power. So just to give you context about what people on the left would view this as, they would never believe him that he's just making jokes. Because people never just talk. Every time they talk, they're building up power for some systemic racist institution. Every time they speak, unless they're wokeifying, unless they're wokatizing,
Eric said on Facebook, by the way, Mr. Henry, Eric's been telling me about this book for a while called Color, Communism, and Common Sense. He says it talks about the way that the Kremlin controlled the African-American community by using other African-Americans in the movement and using shame against the community. It was one of the most commonly used tactics. He says, I see it happening all the time. The book was written in the 1950s by someone who was at the highest position an African-American could be in the party at the time. He said, also look up the video going around on Facebook, the guy walking through the grocery store, canceling all the brands. Yeah. That's what I was talking about, right? Michael Stinson said, and keep in mind that Planned Parenthood has removed Margaret Sanger with that explanation. Well, it's a whole different genocidal conversation, isn't it? But hey, man, it's one that's happening. And just to go back to the point that I was making a second ago, lest you think that this guy is out here just pushing some pro-Trump propaganda or something, play that next video, Sean, of how to sell protest footage to Fox and CNN. This really encompasses the entirety of not just where this YouTube creator is, but what I personally feel, again, as a student of comedy, something that Shine turned me onto way back in the day, is the craft that I believe stand-up is, and the good that it can do sometimes to just point out in a way that we can laugh at each other about some of this stuff sometimes. The extremes, we need to be able to laugh at the extremes one more time to pull ourselves back into some rationality. Play that next one. Says, okay, yeah, let's listen to this. This is great.
You see, a lot of freelance videographers will sell their footage to either CNN or Fox News. But when you do that, you only get to sell half of what you actually film happening at these events. You might be able to sell your peaceful protest footage to CNN, but then you're stuck with all this footage of looters rioting, which is why I've developed a technique that allows me to sell to both. They call me the chief because I use every part of the buffalo. Well, Fox News calls me the chief. CNN got offended that a white person used the word buffalo. For example, yesterday, some protesters were antagonizing the police, throwing rocks at them. Clip that out. Vintage Fox News. Then moments later, when the police responded with wildly excessive force, now I have a clip for CNN. A shopkeeper saying something racist obviously goes to CNN. The looters robbing him blind 5 minutes before Fox News. Last week, black protesters talking about how they're fighting oppression. Classic CNN. But then when he goes on to say that's why black people need the Second Amendment, chop that puppy up, little something for Fox News. Sometimes they make special requests. I had a black cop acting aggressive. They asked me if I had that in white. And recently Fox News put a premium on gang members burning flags. But instead of hitting the streets again, I realized that if I get creative with the titles, I can oftentimes sell the same piece of footage to both organizations without even making any cuts. For Fox News, I have black protesters beat up white student, and then rename that Freedom Fighters Defend Against Trump Supporter. For Fox News, I have illegal immigrant attacks baby. For CNN, I've renamed that clip Dreamer Supports Extremely Late Term Abortion. I have two distinct folders. For Fox News, cops being chill, protesters being outrageous, and for CNN, I have cops being outrageous, protesters being super chill. I learned that the hard way when I accidentally sent footage of black teenagers cleaning up the streets to Fox News. They emailed me back saying, what the hell are we gonna do with this? I said, if you play it backwards, it looks like they're littering. They said, we already tried that. We don't think it's gonna play for our viewers. I said, I think you'd be surprised. Cha-ching.
That last one, dude. I said, I think you'd be surprised. Oh, it's so great, dude. It's so perfect, right? And it's exactly what's needed right now. I don't know, right?
Where has this guy been all my life? He's so funny.
He's a stand-up comic out of Canada, man.
Dude, Canada's been bringing the fire over the past couple years, man. Canada, I just got to give them props, you know. Parliamentary system, but like not nerds.
Right? Oh, they have been bringing the fire, man. They have. And it's just, it's a lot of what's needed right now to be able to just, even if you're a Fox News watcher primarily, you can watch that and say, okay, yeah, I get it. It's a little funny. And I would hope that CNN watchers could say the same thing. I don't necessarily know, but the more that both audience members could look at a clip like that and say, yeah, okay, we got some stuff we need to work on too. I think that the easier it's going to be for everyone to admit when the time comes to put down these arms and coalesce together again and have ministries of healing and restoration. Whenever that period comes for reconciliation, all these good things, and it will come, believe me, it will come. You know, I think the first step into that is going to have to be able to understand, to not take yourself so seriously, not take the fringe 5% so seriously, because it's just the fringe 5%. And at some point, we're going to start asking these questions and start getting legitimate answers that I don't think these reporters are ready for. Sean, if you go to the national stories section again, by the way, one quick plug here in the Evernote. At the top of the description, every single show, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, doesn't matter. The awesomeness that is, you know, Streamlabs OBS that Shine puts this together. It sends this stuff out to every single outlet that we have. You can click on the Evernote link and follow along the show notes with us. At the top of the national story, Sean, there's something that's right underneath the audacity to stand against Black Lives Matter. And this guy's name is Jonathan Isaac. It's about a 2 to 3 minute YouTube clip if you could pull that up. Jonathan Isaac, he's I wouldn't call him an NBA star by any measure, but he's an NBA player, which means he's obviously one of the best basketball players in the world. Now, what the NBA is doing, they're doing something called a bubble concept. So they take, you know, one, Orlando is where I think they're all playing this out of. Am I wrong with that? It might be, whatever. They're all playing in a single stadium, and they house all the NBA players in an area where there has not been a massive COVID outbreak. And so they're sort of bubbling these people in there so they don't get exposed across the United States. So it's the NBA now is in a situation. I explain it that way because every single NBA game that's going on is played on the exact same court. So ESPN now is able to pick like a quadruple head-to-head, back-to-back-to-back-to-back on, one day of coverage, they'll have 4 NBA games because it's all in the exact same stadium. It's not really a stadium per se. It's whatever the Amway Center is. It's literally just the teams in the NBA on a court. And anyways, the point being is that it has the same graphics for every single game. It's a big Black Lives Matter in the middle of the court. And it becomes this sort of, for sake of continuity, every single NBA player kneels during the national anthem. Now, Toronto was playing last weekend, and not only did they kneel during the American national anthem, but they kneeled during the Canadian national anthem as well. I suppose, well, yeah. They got a double kneel. Well, the guy you're looking at your screen right now, his name's Jonathan Isaac. Sorry, he's a player for the Orlando Magic. He was asked, well, you know what, man? I won't even say what he was asked because this is a 2-part analysis I have here. This guy stood during the national anthem is what happened. He's the only player that I believe so far in the NBA, especially since the only African-American player for sure that I know that has stood during the national anthem. And this 2-part analysis that I have here, I think the question, I was talking to my wife about this last night when I was doing some show prep. I initially thought the question that the reporter asked was the story until I realized how it set up Jonathan Isaac's answer. So before I give any of my analysis, Sean, just play that from the very beginning. We'll let this go about 2 to 3 minutes into it. I'll just listen to how this unfolded. Go ahead, man.
So you didn't kneel during the anthem, but you also didn't wear a Black Lives Matter shirt. Do you believe that Black Lives Matter?
Absolutely. I believe that Black Lives Matter. A lot went into my decision, and part of it is, first off, is my thought that, kneeling or wearing the Black
Sorry,
Lives
buddy.
Matter.
Can you pause that for 2 seconds? And on that YouTube clip, I'm just really apologize doing this, but is there any way you can turn on captions, by the way? It's usually an option in the bottom right hand. It's under settings, right? You can, if not, don't worry about it.
Yeah, give me a second because I had to put up the full window instead of the small thing there. You want me to start over?
Yeah, start it over if you can. If not, don't worry. But there's this weird sort of drumming in the background that's I don't know if that's the air conditioner, what it is, or somebody's Zoom call or something that just doesn't understand how feedback works. But it's really important that I want to make sure people can hear this, or at least read what's being said on there.
So you didn't kneel during the anthem,
you
but you also didn't wear a Black Lives Matter shirt. Do you believe that Black Lives Matter?
Absolutely. I believe that Black Lives Matter. A lot went into my decision, and part of it is, first off, is my thought that, kneeling or wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt don't go hand in hand with supporting Black lives. And so I felt like, just me personally, and what it is that I believe in, standing on the stance that I do believe that Black Lives Matter, but I just felt like it was the decision that I had to make, and I didn't feel like putting that shirt on and kneeling went hand in hand with supporting Black lives, or that it made me support Black lives or not. I believe that for myself, my life has been supported through the gospel of Jesus Christ, and that everyone is made in the image of God, and that we all fall short of God's glory, and that each and every one of us, each and every day, do things that we shouldn't do. We say things that we shouldn't say. We hate and we dislike people that we shouldn't hate and dislike. And sometimes it gets into a point where we point fingers about whose evil is worse. And sometimes it comes down to simply whose evil is most visible. So I felt like I wanted to just take a stand on it. I feel like we all make mistakes, but I think the gospel of Jesus Christ is that there's grace for us, and that Jesus came and died for our sins, and that if we all will come to an understanding of that and understand that God wants to have a relationship with us, that we can get past skin color, we can get past all the things in our world that are messed up, jacked up. I think when you look around, racism isn't the only thing that plagues our society, that plagues our nation, that plagues our world. And I feel like, coming together on that message that we want to get past not only racism, but everything that plagues this other society. I feel like the answer to it is the gospel.
All right, pause that real quick, Sean.
Answer.
Because the follow-up question here is important. It is important, but I just wanted to break here in a second. I want to see where y'all are coming from. Facebook audience, YouTube audience. Let me know in the comments section. Anybody watching on Twitch, anything else that y'all felt that you picked up from that, anything else? Because I'm telling y'all right now, there's a reason why I started with a bit of satire this morning, just to kind of get us loose in the mood of understanding that, hey, there's gonna comes sometimes real quick where we start getting serious answers to some of these nonsensical questions. And I just want to make sure that every person in this country is ready to deal with those serious answers. Now, initially, I thought when this journalist asked this question, and I don't know, I don't presume to know the color of the journalist, and I don't necessarily know if that matters. The race of the journalist, if an African-American female was asking an African-American male, is that question somehow more justified? I believe as far as the woke rules are concerned, it certainly would be more justified than a white person asked the question because it feels even more patronizing them. But nevertheless, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the question of asking an African-American, do you believe Black Lives Matter? It's trying to put it the best. Are you telling me, let me ask you a serious question here as your psychiatrist. Do you believe your own life matters? I mean, come on, man. Like, it's not just, it's how patronizing
it sounds like a threat, also, right?
Yeah, bro, right?
In a way, it sounds like a threat. Even more than patronizing, it's like, do you want to die? You know, like it's almost like
how much your life matters. Yeah,
right. It's weird. It has a gross feeling to it, an off-putting feeling to it,
and that grossness. All right, how off-putting it was. It's unnerving the extent of how divisive of a question that was. And it literally, the question has a sting to it because there is no hiding how much it's meant to divide. Further divide. There is nothing in that question. Not a sense or a stitch of anything in that question that could ever be portrayed as something that's meant to be coalescing, bringing back together, harmony, unity. And somehow, this guy, Jonathan Isaac, takes that question and instead of playing into the hand, because I'll tell you how I would have handled that. Okay, I mean, I would not have handled it that gracefully, and I certainly would have understood how to take that question and spin it completely 180, almost like a. I mean, goodness gracious, man, like it was a Tai Chi, man, like using the enemy's momentum against me, like you use the Kung Fu Panda #2, where he takes the cannonball and throws it on his back and throws it right back at you, type thing.
Great reference,
right? That's what it felt like. It was a rhetorical version of that last scene in Kung Fu Panda, because what he did is he took the most divisive question that I've heard in a very long time and turns it into a message of hope and unity and prosperity and togetherness and you know what I'm saying? Of a basic appeal of like, y'all don't get it. What I heard him saying was, you don't understand. You're looking at all this surface level stuff that's just pitting us against each other even more. And I'm here now to deliver a message to you saying that we need to look at the underlying causes. And I know you hear a lot about Christianity in this program. That's not necessarily the point of me bringing this up right now. The point of me bringing this up right now is that this guy took an opportunity to use that question to pitch something unifying, great, wonderful, loving, compassionate. He didn't play his hand into the reason why I did or didn't stand for Black Lives Matter. He quickly addressed that point of saying, like, you're going to boil down my entire race to a T-shirt? Come on, man. Come on. As I said, but he didn't say it like that. He said, well, I just didn't think that wearing a T-shirt was really, indicative of the entirety of what my race is, I think. And then he went on to explain what the gospel was to him, how we can all learn to love each other through that gospel. That's what I'm saying. We're going to have to start.
Let us make sure we get that quote right, because I thought it was a powerful quote. I didn't think kneeling and wearing a T-shirt was actually doing something to support Black lives. That's what he said. He said, I don't think kneeling and wearing a Black Lives Matter T-shirt actually helps Black lives. That's what he said. And that's true. As we've talked about many times, the movement has done no reforms. But anyway, that's his opinion, and I'll let him have it. I don't need to prove it for him, but that's what he said.
Yeah. I just think it's time that we start hearing messages of unity again, when we start hearing, and again, this guy has been excoriated now. That's why the title in the show notes you'll see is like the audacity stand against Black Lives Matter. Make sure you have something worthy to stand for then, right? Make sure you have something worthy to stand for, because the time is coming quickly where we're gonna have to start pitching a different message than one that's being pitched to us. We, and yes, I do mean we. I use that term carefully right there. We, all of us. Anyone listening right now, anyone listening to this program later on in the future, if you talk to your friends about that, we are going to have to take that narrative back from whoever, or is it whomever? I don't know which one is grammatically correct, but take it back is all I'm saying. Take it back from the media. Take it back from whatever industry you want to take it back from. Take it back from politicians. Take it back from your job. Take it back from your employer. Take it back from your neighbor who just doesn't want to have a conversation. Take it back from Facebook friends. Take it back from Facebook comments. Take it back from your Twitter post. Take back that narrative of dividing and conquer against one another and start pushing something like this. Start pushing something at a community level to love and embrace one another again. And just just cut through all of it, just like this guy did. Just cut through all the nonsense, man. Because I'm telling you right now, at a time when they're burning Bibles in Portland, yeah, that's another updated story going on today. If we want to touch on that real quick, because it seems to flow with the show. Sean, if you want to check this down, it's past the TikTok's time is up. Segment it's down there right below that in National Showdown. It says, let's check in on Portland. At a time when they're just burning Bibles in Portland, and apparently that's actually what happened over the weekend, it's going to be much, much easier to splinter one more piece of wood in there to divide a little bit further. And they've already cut us off and they've already hacked us into halves. Now they're just hacking up the halves into further little sideline groups. Because once you start burning Bibles openly, you can find some imagery very, very quickly.
Grant, the tweet is there, but the image has been removed.
Yeah, that's weird, right? That's that was going to be part of the story.
I pulled it up for everybody so they can see the sorry that page does not exist.
Yeah, the YouTube video has the footage of the burning Bibles, but part of this story, and our own Congressman Birch had tweeted about this on Saturday as well. Part of this story, okay, obviously, is that the federal troops made some agreement with local troops that they would pull out of Portland. And the story initially was that there's no more riots going on in Portland because the federal troops moved out. So it looks like now that the federal troops were the cause of the riots to begin with. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But then all that conversation quickly devolved into this making headlines. And this guy deleted his entire account. The guy that initially took the video of the one that you're probably seeing on the screen right now from YouTube. It's that highlighted one there.
I'm playing it for him. I'm just playing it for him on a loop.
Oh, yeah, there's no audio in the anyways, right? But that original Twitter account, like the entire account is just gone. Now, I don't know what side of conspiracy that gets into. I'm not here to talk about that this morning. I'm sure we could go all day with that if you wanted to. It was probably just because he was harassed so much. I just tell y'all he was didn't have a lot of followers. He wasn't verified, didn't have the blue check mark or anything. He just filmed this footage and put it out there. And I would assume, I say assume, not presume. I would assume that some of these Antifa members or whoever probably figured out where he was and death threat. We know where you live, blah, blah, blah. And then he just deletes his account because he didn't want to deal with it. That's just what I assume what happened in the background. I don't know. But the guy that reported on this said left-wing activists bring a stack of Bibles to burn in front of the federal courthouse in Portland. They burned some American flags and a few other things as well. Our own Congressman Tim Birch tweeted about this. I should have grabbed that tweet. I just didn't have time to prep this morning. And look, to be fair, some people are saying, well, you can't tell if they're Bibles or not. You also hear some responses saying, well, they're just right-wing provocateurs. Well, dude, I was about to respond to a conspiracy theory like whatever. I don't care who's doing it, bro. It's part of y'all are letting it happen. There's however many thousand people standing around watching these Bibles being burned, and they're not burning Qurans. Let's be for real about this.
And it's like, I don't believe you. You're burning Bibles. Every time you say anything, it's a lie, so I don't believe you. You were burning Bibles. You're only trying to deflect because you know you did it. And you lie all the time. You're liars who burn Bibles.
Everybody knows the imagery that's elicited when you burn books, let alone Bibles, but books in general, the sort of progressive anti-intellectuals, everything that comes along with that imagery. Now we're out here burning Bibles in Portland. I mean, and that's how quickly these narratives change. And just there's a New York Post article that responded to the same thing because everybody in Twitter, not everybody, but at least a few people on Twitter, specifically on Congressman Birch's thread, were saying something effective like fake news. It's been disproven. And their version of it being disproven that apparently only right-wing publications were reporting on it, right? So the Federalist, New York Post, Daily Wire, a few others, Breitbart. That's their version of it being discredited. Not that Snopes ran some article on it or something, just that there were no left-wing publications reporting it. Well, that's not necessarily surprising, I wouldn't think. But this guy on Twitter, his contention on this, I hope he asked this sincerely, although I doubt he did. He asked, I don't know what burning the Bible has to do with protesting against police brutality. that question I'd like to pose to the audience as well. That's what I think is confusing for most people that are trying to rationally approach something here. They're trying to approach a sense of like, okay, I thought I was just told. I thought I was just told for a couple months in a row that they're out there protesting police brutality. And sure enough, federal troops, Trump's jackboots, as they call them, roll into town and a bunch of stuff starts popping off and tear gas this and pepper spray this and pepper balls over here and fireworks here and it's lighting stuff on fire. And all of a sudden when those jackboot troops move out, now all of a sudden everything calms down and quells down. So what in the world is this? What is this? That's what's in the mind right now. Someone that's just stumbling upon this, doesn't really want to look behind the onion layers to actually see if anything may or may not be happening. His second statement there is his assertion says, don't be under the illusion that these protests and riots are anything but attempt to dismantle all of Western civilization and upend centuries of tradition and freedom of religion. I don't necessarily know if you want to follow along with that thought line or not. I don't think you necessarily have to just start asking the question of the first question he posed. What does burning Bibles have to do with police brutality? Do y'all know what's going on here? Like burning the American flag. We get burning the American flag, but are we throwing books in here now? What are we doing? We throwing the Bible in here now? What is happening? And again, protests, the New York Post is reporting this, saying that just after midnight, marchers were caught on video using the flag as holy book as kindling for bonfires lit outside the federal courthouse, which has been a focal point of the riots after yada yada going forward. Donald Trump Jr. tweeted here, now we have to move, now we move to book burning phase. I'm pretty sure Antifa doesn't actually stand for what they say it stands for. Maybe just remove the anti part of their name, and it's perfectly says. So instead of just anti-fascist, they might just be fascist. And that's what I'm saying. It's too easy. That's the point of me bringing some of this stuff. It's just a little too easy. It's just a little bit too easy to point to some of this stuff and say, do y'all not realize? Do you not realize when societies have burned books before? And what happened after that? I mean, you have to realize that somebody has to have walked up with a YouTube video and shown, like, look what you're doing. The comparison. That's why I thought it was important to start with some of these videos that we started with today, because I know you're not going to like my take on some of this, but my take on some of this is we know this stuff to be wrong. We know this stuff to be incorrect. We know this stuff to be restrictive, regressive, destructive. And I think it's our job, whoever R is, if you think you have a better version, if we know we have a better version through either conservatism or love or compassion or whatever the thing might be, is to start pitching that. It's easy enough. It's too easy now to come out and point at burning Bibles to make references to what happens after you burn books in the streets. It's too easy to do that anymore. And because it's so easy, no one is paying attention to it anymore. Certainly the people that are doing it are not paying attention. And the fact of the matter that there's a person in Congressman Birch's Twitter thread right now that's trying to disprove this stuff by going on by the fact that NBC, ABC, and CNN are not covering it. That's our take now. That's that individual's take on this being untrue. Says to me, we're in a time period after fact. We are in the post-truth era, as you are here in our intro sometimes. We are in an era now where I believe you have to present a better alternative view to those that would even tacitly condone some of this stuff going on, or even just willfully turn a blind eye to some of this stuff going on. I think that's what's ultimately and most problematic about where we are currently as a society right now. It's not necessarily those that are doing it. They're always going to be a problem. It's those that are turning a blind eye to it. That's where the main concern is, and that's where I think our main focus should be, and not necessarily, hear me clearly, not necessarily solely approaching them with a message of just, you're wrong, this is incorrect. Let me show you how burning books in the street could lead to something catastrophic, because apparently that's not working. So instead, try what our buddy Jonathan tried. Try what our buddy Jonathan Isaac tried. Try approaching with the message of like, look. Are you marching for unity? Or are you marching for change? Or are you marching to do something at police protests? Let me present to you an option of how we can get that done. Come jump on a board with Americans for Prosperity. We got a petition you can sign. Come meet your legislator. Redirect this attention. It's like a little ball. Nonsense. Redirecting attention is the theme of one of the things I'm going to end this program with today. Because President Trump on Friday, walking into it's a classic Trump move. If you can pull I won't even say what he said. Just showing TikTok's time is up under that national headline. Pull that video up real quick, because the first thing linked under the TikTok's time is up under the national stories. Never know. There's a YouTube clip there of Trump's about to hop on board Air Force One. This is late Friday, early Saturday morning. I think I don't remember when it was. But he hops on, and then, much like always, there's a crowd of media personalities out there, not media personalities, the journalists or whatever. And I don't know what question they ask him, but this is the response Trump gave. Go ahead and play that real quick.
We're looking at TikTok. We may be banning TikTok. We may be doing some other things. There are a couple of options, but a lot of things are happening. So we'll see what happens. But we are looking at a lot of alternatives with respect to TikTok.
So he just drops that bomb and just like saunters away in a classic Trump move, right? Yeah, is that right?
He's like, TikTok, no mic drop,
TikTok,
and I'm out.
You're fired. Yeah, sorry. TikTok, you're fired. I gotta catch this plane. See ya. Wait, what? Oh, sometimes you gotta laugh at some of this stuff. Theme for today. Well, follow up to that, I suppose. I'm talking about how to get your message out, your message of immunity, your message of whatever else, whatever message you want to get out. TikTok was one of the platforms that some of the Generation Z and millennials were using. Well, apparently not anymore. And obviously, if you don't know, the reason why I'm not taking the TikTok thing as seriously as I think some people are is I don't know, man. Some part of me finds it slightly ironic that the U.S. government is concerned about spying as long as it's another country doing it. Whatever. That's neither here nor there.
Consistency is racism. So remember that.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think it's a high level public example of what could happen to anybody who does business with CCP.
That's true. That is true.
What it is,
that's true. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, nothing that the government does is about consistency, Grant. That's not the point. It's about maintaining power and things like that. And we are in a weird Cold War, maybe even soon to be hot war footing with China. And I think this is going along with that executive order that says if you're doing business with the CCP, we can seize your assets. And by doing it with TikTok in this big public way, if this is successful, it's like an acknowledgement that the administration has the authority to do so. So when it happens in a place that's less silly, like the NBA or Apple or a major university or something like that, then the public will be like, well, yeah, I remember when they did it to TikTok.
Yeah, right.
This is the same thing. So the TikTok thing, in a way, is kind of white hat propaganda. It's what's it called? It is getting you used to the idea of the U.S. government having the authority. Predictive programming. That's exactly right. It's white hat predictive programming, where when this happens, if the TikTok thing, but for the TikTok thing, you would have been more uncomfortable with what happens next.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think that's the analysis of the why. And the why it's in the news, why it's a thing. I mean, Pompeo was on with Bartiromo yesterday talking about it. I don't know if you saw that video.
Yeah, right.
But this was a widespread thing yesterday, just getting the word out. We have the authority to do this. We will be doing this. This is what can happen to you. Shot across the bow to everybody else too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Company.
It was an easy target. Because everyone, because the public already knows and has accepted that the Chinese government has a backdoor into TikTok.
Even on the app itself, there are multiple thread lines within TikTok of somebody, they'll say, brought to you by the CCCP, right? Or courtesy of Chinese Communist government propaganda.
Well, what I'm saying is the people who would do the propaganda that would say TikTok is not tied to China, they lost that battle.
Right.
It's accepted that it's part of the Chinese Communist Party, like Huawei is. Like the way people accept that as a thing. So it's, in my opinion, it's predictive programming for when you do it in a place where there's not universal acceptance that the Chinese Communist Party has a huge influence. But this gets you ready for it. And I think the best example is something like the NBA, because I already see white hat propaganda constantly coming out about the NBA, talking about them being, in my opinion, white hat, by the way. White hat versus black hat means you're trying to tell the truth, do something good. Black hat means you're trying to do something bad. But I think the NBA has a little bit of a target on it. A little bit. I mean, look at what we did this morning. That guy's voice was amplified, and I don't think... I don't think that's by accident. Because, I mean, and I think there's a recent article talking about the deals that the NBA has made with China. I think it came out yesterday, I think. NBA's dark deal with the Communist Party or something. I haven't read it, but I'm seeing the bubbling up of stuff. You get what I'm saying? And I think over the next few months, especially as we get into the wintertime, when there's less protests and stuff, where you can't have a mob come after you because it's like 20 degrees outside and everyone's at home and it's raining or whatever, that's when I think you'll see some stuff. And then next spring, I think you'll see some hot action. Like, boom, boom.
I think you're right, man. TikTok was a very, very easy target. The narrative had not only been created, or it was just true. It was just not blatantly. It was just it was axiomatic. It's not even the best word for it. It just was true that TikTok was about to be, if not is already currently under the influence of the Chinese Communist Party. Like you just said, Sean, it's essentially akin to Huawei or something. Now, yes, people were saying that it was based out of Hong Kong, which I believe obviously is true, but because of what's going on in Hong Kong right now, the reason why TikTok has become such a story with a seemingly amount of sort of this timeline, this dead end, there's an impetus to it, right? The reason for
I
that
got to throw out there too, ByteDance owns a lot of stuff.
Yeah, right. Well,
I think they own Candy Crush.
Yeah.
I think they own Candy Crush and a couple other games that are like that. And then those companies that also invested into like games like Candy Crush and something else are also tied in with other U.S. big gaming companies. Like I think Activision or one of the other ones. But anyway, like it's so weird too that this didn't even start until the girls of TikTok ruined the Tulsa rally.
Well, yeah.
All that stuff is all tied together somehow. And I don't pretend to know what it is, but this is one of the most interesting times ever to be alive.
Well,
because weird stuff is happening all the time.
I know. And it's just going forward. I mean, the follow-up to this story is Microsoft is now apparently going to buy out the American operations of TikTok. That's the story coming from The Verge. The follow-up now is, and I don't know, man, like you just said, Sean, it's just such weird feelings all around. Because by no means do I think that Bill Gates and Microsoft are benevolent enough to what? Just like save Generation Z's preferred method of information dissemination? Come on, man. Well, they didn't save Vine. TikTok is just a rehashed package of Vine. That's all that it is.
And Vine was awesome.
Yeah, Vine was fun, right? Here's the headline from The Verge, though. In a blog post Sunday, Microsoft said it is, quote, prepared to continue discussions to explore a purchase of TikTok in the United States following a conversation between its CEO and President Trump. It's the first time the company has confirmed reports that it was in talks to acquire the video player sharing platform. And I don't know, I don't think I have to do this, but for anybody that doesn't know what TikTok is, it's just a social media site. It's just scrollable videos, just video after video after video after video, and they're anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds to a minute long. And it's exactly what you think. Creativity.
They have editing tools and things like that. And people make weird things and funny things. And it was cool like 2 years ago for like 2 months. There were a lot of people making funny videos, and then it got terrible. And it's been terrible since.
It started like a Musical.ly app or something, right? Where you could play some audio recording in the background and you could like mouth over it, but as if you're singing it or as if you're doing the scene from a movie. And then it just got bigger and bigger from there. And now there's a bunch of political opinions being spread and a whole bunch of other stuff. All right. And it's got a massive, massive following. Anyways, back to the story. Microsoft said, here's the quote here. Microsoft fully appreciates the importance of addressing the president's concern. Do you, Microsoft? Or are you just looking for a takeover, an acquisition before Facebook can do it for you?
I smell money.
Right? They're just like, Facebook's going to move on this if we don't. And the time is ripe. Let's do it now because the narrative's been created that we're actually going to be the saviors in this whole thing. So what's better than market consolidation if you also have a messiah to come do it for you? Anyways, going on saying it is, meaning Microsoft, it is committed to acquiring TikTok subject to a complete security review and providing proper economic benefits to the United States. Wow. Including the United States Treasury. Wow. So let us buy TikTok and you'll get your tax money, won't you? Goodness, man. Anyways, it goes on to say, the blog post reads, it adds that the company expects to, quote, quickly to pursue discussions with TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, in a matter of weeks. And in any event, completing these discussions by no later than September 15th, 2020. The blog post says that the two companies provided notice of their intent to explore a preliminary proposal that would involve a purchase of TikTok service in the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and would result in Microsoft owning the operation of TikToks in those markets. Now, here's what's unclear to me and unclear to the author of this story as well as we finish the show up here in the final 5 minutes. It's unclear how Microsoft would sever those countries from other areas where TikTok operates, like Europe and Africa and, well, China and everywhere else, I suppose. Microsoft also did not commit to undertaking the purchase entirely on its own, saying the company, quote, may invite other American investors to participate on a minority basis in this purchase. So there it is, man. TikTok's going away, but not really going away. It's just turning into something that Microsoft owns. And I'm telling you, I don't know. I don't know if Microsoft has any nefarious intent behind this or not. Here's some comments from Facebook, by the way. Eric said, isn't TikTok being used by the CCP to get malware into the U.S. and other countries too? That among many, many other efforts for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the game of espionage. We've been doing it to Russia. Russia's been doing it to us.
And I think Tinder and Grindr are next.
Yeah?
Because they have, they were seeded by Chinese money. And it's actually been reported several times that they have backdoors into Grindr and Tinder and use that as blackmail against people they need to blackmail.
Wow.
Especially Grindr, because it's for same gender relations, you know.
Dude, that's just too easy. That makes perfect sense. That's too easy, man. I tell you, some of the stuff that's coming out of it, I know there's a weird way to tie this into Epstein, but some of the stuff that's coming out during this Epstein trial, it's Maxwell trial, but whatever, it's all Epstein stuff, is what Eric mentioned and what Sean just picked up on a second ago. Is so even if you weren't participating in some of that stuff, the blackmail that Epstein had on some of these people, just being even remotely associated in the same room, the same complex, the same people, the same social circle group, any of that stuff, it was enough just to have blackmail on the people. And Sean, if what you're saying is true, that makes, how easy would that be? Just track someone's activity on Tinder or Grindr,
especially Grindr. Yeah.
Right? Goodness, man. Anyways, on the way out here, we'd end it this morning a little bit early. Sean and I have some work stuff to get to. One final time, if you are planning on being in the Joe Jorgensen event, that's the Libertarian presidential candidate. If you're planning on being in that event, Centennial Park here in the Nashville area, reach out to me today. Well, let me say this way. If you're planning to be there and if you support what we're doing, the Nashville Taxpayer Protection Act to stop that 34% property tax increase, reach out to me today. I'd love to give you a small little stack of signatures to take there with you. See if you can just gin up some support, get some people to sign the signatures while you're there. That'd be fantastic. Help us work for the cause. I'll be knocking doors at that time and at the polls that day. We got a lot of stuff going on this week. Hey, Real News is out for today. My name is Mr. Henry. David Sean Thompson over there. We both love you. For real, sincerely. We'll see you next time. Peace.